The Out of Bounds Show, 1059 The Zone ESPN. Your next video wall for your business, school, lobby, conference room is powered by Sound and Communication, soundcomav.com. We have a video wall in our studio that Sound and Communications did, soundcomav.com. Your next video wall for your business, lobby, hotel, architecture firm, casino, powered by Sound and Communications, soundcomav.com. We want to welcome in Mike Detillier on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 1059 The Zone. Mike D with WWL Radio TV New Orleans. New Orleans is rocking this week with the Super Bowl in town. And we'll be down there Wednesday and Thursday night. Looking forward to that. But we're going to start with something that broke within the last week. Mike D and others may have known about it prior to, but the Saints organization had to respond to leaked emails with the Catholic Church, and the Saints have responded to the release of internal emails detailing their involvement in the Archdiocese of New Orleans public relations efforts in the clergy sexual abuse crisis. Mike D, what's the temperature down there on what's broke the last week with this story?
Yeah, it's a story that has been around for quite some time, but it really heated up when the emails got released. The Saints have tried to distance themselves from this, but how can you distance yourself from this when you heavily involved? You shouldn't be involved with this. This is a criminal matter at this stage. But again, you just shake your head about how can you be involved? Catholic Church here, and it's a heavily Catholic area. To have these sort of events happen, and you're seemingly, when you read the emails, involved in some sort of cover-up of it. It's, you shake your head. Why is a football organization involved with this at this stage? And it's disturbing, to say the least, Bo, to be honest with you.
Is it because Miss Benson, the owner, is so heavily involved in the Catholic Church and Catholic charities?
Yes, very much so. And, again, she's had a close relationship with Archbishop Amon, he's right in the middle of all this. So, yeah, and actually her and Tom Benson actually kind of met through the Archbishop. And so, there's a lot of different connections there. She has been someone who has contributed, and I'm talking about tens of millions of dollars to the Catholic Church. But, Bo, in this spot here, you can't get yourself involved. This is it's a criminal matter. It's not, say, breaking news, but it is something that is disturbing from a lot of areas. That why would you get yourself involved in any sort of connection with this, any sort of even measure of cover-up, which is, if you see those emails, it certainly points in that direction. I think for a lot of people here, it's downright disgusting. And I've had numerous people tell me that, their season tickets, they won't renew it. This is part of it, a big part of it.
We've talked about kind of how this executive team is so close to Miss Benson. Greg Benzel? And
Greg Benzel.
All right, Greg Benzel, VP of Communications for the Saints. And Dennis, how do you say his last name? Lauscha. So emails were obtained by the Associated Press show that the Saints executives provided strategic communications support to the archdiocese in 2018. Do you think both of them, because kind of like we've talked about with Mickey Loomis in a different light, but almost everybody is so tied in and post Mr. Benson passing away that everybody's Teflon and is not going to get fired regardless. Do you think that they make it through this scandal, Mike D?
Oh yeah, yeah. Dennis Lausch is the most powerful guy in this organization. He was Tom Benson's basically accountant and money guy, and Dennis isn't going anywhere. Greg's been with the Saints in public relations well over 20 years, 25 years. So neither one is going anywhere. Neither one of them is going anywhere. They're tied not only to Gail Benson, but tied on to her husband. Because they worked there for so many years. So if anybody's expecting them to get fired because of this, you better think again. It's not going to happen.
Okay. Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans, but it looks like another black eye on the organization, just to be honest. Will it affect Kellen Moore's? Will this have any impact on Kellen Moore's hiring?
I doubt seriously.
Okay.
I just think if you listen to him talk last night at the media event, and he tried to sidestep every question asked to him. Sounds to me like, all this is all sort of set up to be done. And they most likely have a deal tentatively in place and just need a few things here and there worked out. But he's going to be the new coach of the Saints. And without something really out of the ordinary happening, I expect he'll be the head coach of the Saints sometime early to mid next week. I mean, they never like to take anything away from the spotlight of the Super Bowl, and it being here in New Orleans. That's another kind of shoot or drop. I would think next Tuesday or Wednesday you'll get that press conference to make it official with Kellen Moore.
How do you feel about?
The interesting thing is, do they hire, Doug Nussmeier to become the new offensive coordinator? The interesting swing there, Doug Nussmeier, who is the dad of Garrett Nussmeier, the LSU quarterback, and he is the quarterback's coach now with the Eagles.
Hmm. Okay. Do you think that's going to happen?
I think there's a possibility of that occurring. He'd be, now if he could bring Garrett with him, I'd call it a deal, real quick. But I think that's a pretty strong possibility. Now, one thing Kellen said last night that, and when talking about kind of running the room as a head coach, when he would get that opportunity, is the fact that he would be the play caller. That, offensive coordinator be basically a name only, that he enjoys calling plays. And so he would be the play caller if he became a head coach in the NFL.
Okay.
That's about the only thing he really said that was really worth the bite. But, yeah.
How do you feel for our listeners? I think most of you know that it looks like Mike said, it's 99.9 or 100% that offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, Kellen Moore, will be the Saints coach by Monday or Tuesday after the Super Bowl. He's coaching in the Super Bowl for the Eagles. Mike, do you kind of think that's hire, or do you like it? How do you feel about the Kellen Moore hire?
Tell you something Bum Phillips told me years ago. You never know about a first-year coach because he ain't never had a resume. And everybody's got to be a first doing it. And he's right. It's an old bum line, but it's true that, you never really know at this stage. This organization, and I think about it throughout the years, they had a Pro Football Hall of Fame coach in Hank Stram that didn't make it. Bum didn't succeed. Bum probably had the most success. But Bum had great success with the Houston Oilers. Just couldn't beat the Steelers, in those championship games to get to the Super Bowl. And Mike Ditka was a Pro Football Hall of Fame coach. And last night we had Eric Kramer on, and man, Bobby and Eric were talking about, because they were both on that '87 Saints team, that you were lucky to get a first down in practice. They went to Prattville and practice against the Bears. And Bobby's always told me the story, Mike. It was unbelievable. They were like more in the backfield than Dalton Hilliard and Reuben Mays, and he were. He said every snap there was such a cut difference between what they had, and you think about what they had up front along that defensive line, and Steve McMichael and Dan Hampton and Richard Dent, and they had Singletary and Wilbur Marshall, and you can kind of go on and on and on. And it was an intimidation factor with that. But Mike had great talent on that Bears team. It's, I think, one of the biggest what-ifs in covering football in my lifetime. I always think about what would have happened in Dallas had Jimmy and Jerry been able to make it stay. My thing, the second biggest what-if is that Bears defense, which was pretty young when they won the championship here in New Orleans. If they could have certainly kept Jim McMahon healthy, how many could they have won? Mm-hmm. Because they didn't need a lot of points, to be honest with you. That it's still, to me, and I get what the Ravens did in the late 1990s. It's still, to me, the greatest defense I've ever seen, because you were just fortunate to get a first down out of them. They were that dominating, and they had accumulated all this talent. Actually, probably 95% of them picked by the former general manager of the Bears, and at that time was the general manager of the Saints, Jim Finks. Mm. But George Halas had an agreement with Jim that he would have sole control of picking the head coach. And Finks told us the story. I got a phone call one night and said, Jim, I've picked the next coach. And he was like, Mr. Halas thought we had the agreement that I would pick the next coach. He said, not this one. He said, who's the coach? He said, Mike Ditka. So Finks stayed one more year, and then he jettisoned out. And he actually became the general manager of the Chicago Cubs.
Okay.
He was the GM of the Cubs for 1 year, and then took over the Saints.
And then he was a GM for the Chicago Cubs, and then took over for the Saints.
He loved baseball. He could talk baseball with you every bit as good as he could talk football. Now, this is the guy who literally built the Vikings teams of the late 60s into the 70s. Ownership sort of tried to do a little power move with him, and he got upset and left to go to Chicago. And he pieced that team together. And then, the old Papa Bear, he was who he was. And, man, agreement. What agreement? I don't remember signing that. So he overseed Jim on that, and he went 1 year with the Cubs, and then from the Cubs he went to the Saints.
He had a hell of a career. Mike Detillier on the Out of Bounds show and the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. You're listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Do you already feel the buzz of the Super Bowl in town, Mike D?
Yes, and other than the nightmarish ride to the station and to the convention center, yeah, everything's great. You can feel it here. Yesterday was the first day on Radio Row, and they got, I'm talking about hundreds of people from all over that are here. It's not just a sports event. As I walk into the convention center, the first people I meet up with is with Entertainment Tonight. I mean, they had the whole crew there setting up. So, yeah, kind of the, I guess, entertainment world capital when you have the Super Bowl here. And I have a few friends of mine. I do Sirius Radio Network with Gabe and Sports Grid. And, he brought up a great point. He's not from this area. And he's like, Mike, you got to do what you got to do. That make sure that New Orleans gets the Super Bowl every year. I love it here because it's the only place that you do a Super Bowl where the hotels, the restaurants, the Dome, Convention Center, the nightlife is all within walking distance.
Yeah.
There is no other town like this. You go to Miami,
spread out.
That's a 35-minute ride. You go to Los Angeles, it's 45 minutes to an hour ride.
Mm.
And so nothing's real close. New Orleans is a unique big city because it is really a small town, big city.
Yeah.
It really is. And there aren't a lot of cities that have this many hotels downtown. There aren't a lot of cities like that. And this is really sort of a tourist capital because of the people that get drawn in. And think about, the amount of people that come here for the Super Bowl. But think about what happens at Mardi Gras time, where they have millions, plural, in the city of New Orleans. Millions come down for this. So they knew how to handle, big crowds and that sort of thing. And so it's been a great boom for the city. Like, I live 50 minutes away from the city. You cannot find a hotel, motel room anywhere. It is booked solid from Baton Rouge all the way down to New Orleans. You go a little east, Biloxi, Gulfport, in that area, you cannot find a hotel room.
Oh, yeah. I know the casinos down on the Mississippi Gulf Coast are rocking this week. So you live 15 minutes away from the quarter?
No, I live 50 minutes.
50. Okay, I thought it was longer than that. Okay, so 50 minutes away from downtown. Mike D, WWL Radio, TV New Orleans hosting the Super Bowl. We'll be down there tomorrow and Thursday through Friday. Looking forward to that. Mike D and them are right, and Bobby Hebert are right in the thick of things. He made a great point about what his friend said. It's great to host because you're just moving around 5-10 minutes at a time from the Dome to Poydras to Canal to the Quarter to the Warehouse District. It just makes it so easy compared to other spots.
Bro, I'll tell you a quick story. Last night, we kind of all carpool to get to the convention center. And I got to have knee replacement in a few months. And so they told me, listen, don't walk to the we have one person that has a parking pass. Said, stay right here. We'll come pick you guys up. So they came and it took Luke, my producer, about 10 minutes to get to the parking lot, crank it up, make a move around to come pick us up where we were. I had about 3 Uber drivers stop to pick me up. That's how, man, they see somebody standing up. They're like, wait a minute here. We might have a ride. We might be able to make some money. So it was so funny that, we have some of the guys that will laugh and said, man, Mike, keep standing up right there. Eventually we'll get a ride back to the station.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Three different times somebody stopped and they had so many. And last night was a big deal because they had the interviews with the players and coaches at the Superdome. They had shuttle service. Well, we weren't able to do it because I was on the air, but Bobby and Jeff Nowak, they were able to go. Steve Geller and I did the show till 8 o'clock. Yeah, man, those Uber drivers, man, they were slick with it. They were passing up and down in front of the convention center, hoping to make a few dollars by picking you up, bringing you either to the hotel or to wherever your destination was. And rentals on homes. That's another thing. People who maybe have a home in even in Metairie and Kenner, or renting out the homes to people that are coming to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's an unbelievable amount of economic impact.
Oh, sure.
To this area. And to think about, you had the Sugar Bowl,
Yeah.
And then bang, you have Super Bowl, and then in a few weeks, it's Mardi Gras.
Good grief. I mean, we were down there Friday night for the Pelicans Celtics, and Saturday morning when we woke up, the hotel lobby was full of Super Bowl people, Fox Sports backpacks all over the place. It's unreal. I can't wait to get down there Wednesday. All right, Mike D, I got about a minute here. Can the Eagles pull this off, or are you going with the Chiefs to 3-peat?
I'm going with the Chiefs. I'm not betting against Mahomes. The Eagles' best way to win this is to run the football. Kellen Moore cannot catch the virus of wanting to throw the ball a lot. What the Eagles do best is run the football. Best offensive line in pro football. You have the best running back. If Saquon doesn't carry the ball 25 to 28 times this game, something's wrong. You keep feeding it to them. Don't make the mistake other teams have tried to make. They try to out Mahomes. And that's what Joe Brady tried to do. Okay, he tried to do that in the fourth quarter of that game when they were really running the football well against the Chiefs. They tried to out Mahomes. You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. Keep running the football. It gives you your best bet to win. I think in a very close game, the Chiefs do something no one's ever done, and that's win 3 straight Super Bowls.
Wow. All right. Mike D's going with Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Spagnuolo, who's probably the most underrated of the group. Hall of Fame defensive coordinator, and what he's done with the Chiefs and the Giants and so on is simply remarkable, especially in the postseason. So we'll see what Spags dials up for Hurts and Saquon and AJ and Devontae and Goddard and so on. Mike D, have a wonderful week. Thank you so much, my man, and we'll talk next week, okay?
Thanks a lot, Bo. Appreciate it.
Kellen Moore will be the next head coach for the New Orleans Saints. They'll announce that on Monday or Tuesday. What do you think about that? Offensive coordinator for the Cowboys and then offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. He is in the Super Bowl. He says he will call plays. So when he gets there, you're shaking your head over there.
I don't want that guy.
You don't want Kellen Moore?
No, because you can't. They're trying to do something they did with Sean, and it's not going to work.
I wrote that down. Sean Payton worked, and
Do you just hit the jackpot twice? Do you win the lottery twice a lot? No.
yeah, Mississippi State's tried to do it. Dan Mullen wasn't a head coach; he was an offensive coordinator. They hired Joe Moorhead. Disaster. We'll see on the Jeff Levy thing, but coming out of 2-10 is an uphill battle. The guys that have been successful in Starkville, Mullen was an outlier, where Jackie Sherrill, who had head coaching experience, and Mike Leach, who had head coaching experience. Same thing goes for Ole Miss. Billy Brewer and Lane Kiffin had head coaching experience. Tommy Tuberville was an outlier. Hour number 3, the Martins in downtown and Martins in Livingston crew is coming in. They're going to have food. You can watch on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports to check out the channel.